supporting and uplifting Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. Together, they bring a deep experience in community safety, Indigenous healing, and advocacy for MMIWG2S+. Today, they'll guide us through the purpose, power, and potential impact of a red dress alert system and why it is urgently needed. For more information on the speakers, please visit our website via the QR code at the back of your lanyard. And please join me in welcoming Denise and Kim.
Hello. Sorry. It's the first time I'm wearing something like this, so I'm really hearing it here. Good morning, everybody, or good day, good midday, everybody. My name is Denise Cook, and I work with Red Dress Alert Pilot Project. Giganaway Nimananik is what we're called. What is the organization that we're with today? Did you want to?
McPherson. I work with the team, so I'm happy to be here. Oh.
Good. Well, it's nice to see all of you here and that you're taking the time to come and listen to us about our work that we've been doing, I would say, within the last 12 months. So we're really excited to share with you some of this work that we've gone through within this year. So we want to acknowledge the memory and the spirit of the sacredness of First Nation. Sorry, we're just having technical difficulties here. Okay. Just when the tech guy's not here.
You want me to go get it? Do you want me to get the check?
Sure. But I can start sharing some things here.
There we go.
Okay.
I was good,
This is-
so maybe that's why.
Thank you. Right when you're just about there. So we want to acknowledge the memory, the spirit, and the sacredness and of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit women, girls, and 2S LGBTQI plus relatives whose lives have been tragically taken from us or who remain missing. So I also wanted to acknowledge our table here that we travel with. This is the memorial table that we have been traveling with throughout our work with the Red Dress Alert Pilot Project. So we want to acknowledge impacted family members, survivors of gender-based violence that are present here today. We also want to acknowledge the Treaty 1 territory that we are on, the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, the Innu, why is that? Anishinaabe, Dakota, Dene, Inuit, and the homeland of the Red River Métis that we're all visiting on here in Winnipeg and Manitoba. Yeah. Okay, good. So we want to remind you to also take care of your heart today. We know that this information can be hard for some people to kind of to sit with us, and we want to provide you with some information on some resources that we have that are for immediate emotional assistance. So we have this 1-800 number that's 1-844-413-6649, and that's a toll-free support line that was established by the National Inquiry to MMIWG 2S+. Yeah, sorry about that. So the overview of our presentation today for Giganaway Nimananik is to talk about the organization, the Red Dress Alert the pilot project, the goals and the objectives and the methodology that we use throughout this year. Some of the key findings that we have in the final report to the community, our proposed red dress alert system framework, and then how the red dress alert system can address safety, and how we can all support the red dress alert system. So Giganaway Namananik, I'm very proud to be able to say that. It's taken me quite almost a year to be able to say that and pronounce that in a way that's, that hopefully is saying the words that describes our organization. So it's a provincial consortium comprised of effective family members, nonprofit agencies and service providers, and Indigenous political organizations. So there are some government bodies dedicated to the continuous policy development and implementation. So we focus on legislative frameworks, advocating for justice, and then ongoing education and fostering awareness of the 231 calls to justice outlined in the Reclaiming Power in Place final report on the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah. You're changing it on here, but it's not changing on there, on the screen.
Okay.
No, it's down. No. Yeah, right there. This is where we're at. So this is our team. The Red Dress Alert Pilot Project team is comprised of Sandra Delarond, Denima Morristow, who's our knowledge keeper, myself, Kim McPherson, who is our report writer and consultant, and then Jose, who is here, is our data technician and web developer. We do have a group of people that have been with us since the beginning of this work, and they're called the Red Dress Alert Model Carriers. So that is Dolores Daniels, Mary Leclerc, Mary Leclerc, Jerry Lee Pangman, Georgia Melinda Wood, Desiree Lambert, and Renee Gamlin-Kastrokoff, and Grace Shedler. So these are the people that we would look to for guidance regarding the work that we're doing. They're all impacted family members of MMIWG2S+. So they have been with us since the beginning, and we started our work with ceremony. We started our work with me coming together with the bundle carriers, and Denima led us in the pipe ceremony and water ceremony that really, I think, set the tone for how we did our work throughout this year. So the Red Dress Alert would be a public alerting system for any time an Indigenous woman, girl, or 2S+ person goes missing. It would request the assistance of the public in locating the missing person, and to ensure that it's done in a timely way. We think time is of the essence in terms of when someone is missing. So that is the gist of what a Red Dress Alert could be. But we have in our work, we have grown to believe that it can't be just an alerting system. It needs to be more than that. It needs to have some real supports for family members that are going through this, and being able to utilize all of the services that they could get to help them go through the really tough reality and harsh reality of when someone goes missing. So we wanted to also kind of set the tone with that. So really the work comes from work that Leah Gazan and Pan Dunoff brought to the House of Commons to declare a Canadian-wide emergency, and that for the government to fund the Red Dress Alert. So it builds on like 16 pre-engagement sessions, and we always want to acknowledge the previous work that brought us to where we are today, and know that individuals like Sandra Delaron, Denima Moriso, Hilda Anderson Priez, and so many more people who have contributed to the work to bring us here today. So in October 4th, 2024, so like just last year, just like, what is that, 12 months ago? 14 months ago, it was announced in October 4th that Giganaway Nimananek would be in partnership with the federal provincial government to oversee the development of the Red Dress Alert for Manitoba and its Indigenous partners. So the purpose is to save lives and decrease and prevent the violence against Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQI+ people, and increase safety in communities, respond to incidents of those violences against MMIWG 2S+, and increase public awareness to act. So that's the big thing. We know that the Red Dress Alert system would not be successful unless people of the public or people within the broader community, not just the Indigenous community, would take hold of the Red Dress Alert and believe that they are part of ensuring the safety of all Indigenous women, 2S girls, and 2S+ people. So we know that we cannot do this, and it should not always be on the shoulders of Indigenous people. So we want to be able to emphasize that part in terms of like showing that the Red Dress Alert system is part of a responsibility of all Manitobans. Okay. It will also be the first system within Canada, a public alerting system, and that it could be used as a model for other jurisdictions and actually a national alerting model for all of Canada. So from January to October, we did 43 community engagement sessions that were held throughout the province. We had an online survey with over 1,000 responses, and we had 2 sessions with data experts in July 11th and August 20th. So again, our memory table was also with us during this time, and we also want to always acknowledge and honor the memory of our beautiful relatives that are on the table. We know that they have given us the support and guided us through this year in our work, and we want them to know, to be a part of this as well, because it's important for you to see the faces of our beautiful relatives, the ones that we do this work for. So we had some key findings in our final report, which included the extreme urgency of establishing the effective Red Dress Alert system, the importance that it be an Indigenous-led organization, that we know that police in Manitoba are not trusted, not just within Winnipeg, but all throughout the province, and that an effective way they need to act quickly. And when a person goes missing, there was a huge misconception that we had learned throughout our engagements, and it wasn't just one location, it was numerous locations, where we kept hearing the message that people needed to wait 24 to 48 hours. Police were telling people that they needed to wait that time, and that is a myth, that is misinformation. There is nothing in any of their policies or procedures that says that needs to happen. So please, I think that's one of the most important messages that we can give to people, is that you do not have to wait that time. You can if you have a concern, you can make a report as soon as possible. So I think that's another thing, when we think about the time and the essence of the time, and that the time for locating and finding supports for families and the person that's missing, it's essential that we don't wait. So that's why we all believe, and this extreme urgency wasn't just identified by community, it was also identified by service providers, by we call them essential partners. So it was police, it was community organizations, and homelessness is also part of our engagement sessions and our data day. So we really, I think we were able to kind of get a good sense of the community's service providers. So it's important that we need a comprehensive, holistic, and coordinated response when someone does go missing, Indigenous woman, girl, or 2S LGBTQIA+ person. So So, and the other parts that we want to highlight from the final report is that it needs to be inclusive and accessible communication. We know that, do you have a question?
So, just a few minutes ago, you're saying that we have the right to call, but where I live in Portage Prairie, they don't listen to anything we say. They don't even answer domestic violence calls. So what's the
Yeah.
proper short thing you would try saying? Because I know my niece, Jennifer Catchaway, that they wouldn't take, the parents tried to go to the police. They just said she's probably out partying. So
Yeah.
what do you say to, what's the quick response to that they might take you seriously, that they might think we know something, because they regard us as, you know, what would you say would be a good thing to respond? Like if they say, oh, you gotta wait 48 hours or whatever.
We have told the police that, we have told Winnipeg Police, we have told other policing services within Manitoba, we have told them that directly. They started this campaign to address that misconception because it isn't like something that's written for them, it's just something, and they say, oh, it's just because of TV that people think that, but it's also then, well, it's part of their work to know that that is not really the process that they need to be following. So I would, you know, say where is that written in your processes to tell me that I have to wait to report someone missing?
Or could we have something like that to say, well, what about this? Would that help?
There was a
Take it
campaign
seriously?
that was done by the policing services, so you could use that information because that comes from themselves. So part of what we acknowledge is the information that needs to change. So part of the work is also going to be communication and building relationship with policing services within Manitoba, including RCMP. So we know that services are different for people in urban, like the northern communities versus the south. We also know that. We know that there's communities that are on borders that don't necessarily get the services from Manitoba, but are supposed to get the services from Saskatchewan because that's the nearest attachment for them. Like we know that they have really, they're not trusted in the community, they're not looked at as a first place that they would go to for finding, you know, their relatives. So we acknowledge that part with them, and that we definitely know that there needs to be some work with them. But I would go to that their own campaign about dispelling that myth, and use that if they're not listening to what people are saying. I would utilize that as an opportunity to say, well, this is what this is saying. So what you're telling me is that what I'm saying to you is I don't have to wait. And if you're not going to take me seriously, then I need to speak to someone that's in a different position than you. I don't know, I think it's a challenge, right? Because our experiences is never what the intention of what they think their services are to us. And that's something we've learned too. Like every person most people have good intentions, but they're really misinformed about how they can do their work. So that's a hard thing. And it's not giving anyone any kind of excuses. I'm just saying that's the reality of the Indigenous community. Like they were not listened to or even seen as people that should be getting equitable services. I hope that answers your question. So the system would need to be a clear criteria to initiate a red dress alert, coordinated across jurisdictions, Indigenous data sovereignty and information sharing, and the inclusion of 2S LGBTQIA+, and inclusion and consideration of everyone's unique and distinct ways of where they are and how they are living. Meaning, why we're all here today is you all work with the desire for people to be housed, to have, you know, the services that they need. So when I come to, like when I just spoke at another conference last week, and I was just like, well, I'm talking to the people that already know all of this, right? They all already have like lived with the frustration of not being able to meet the needs of the community and being able to advocate all the time for, you know, equitable services. So I know like a lot of things I'm saying you already know, and you're the experts of the community too. So I feel like sometimes, like this is what we've heard by the people that have come to the table with us. And we acknowledge all of them and how hard and difficult it was for them to sit with us to answer the questions that we had. Either because they're family members, they're impacted by, you know, I'm sure everyone in this room has been impacted by someone who has gone missing or has been murdered. Because of the size of our community, but the amount of people our communities, our relatives that are still like being impacted every day. So I think it's important for me to acknowledge that too. So the purpose, we have some components. This is the framework. So we have some components that we want to talk a little bit about. So we have some guiding principles that we have come forward with. So these are the foundation of the Red Dress Alert system, and that the response to be responsive to the needs of the Indigenous community within Manitoba. So that it needs to be Indigenous-led. The governance structure needs to be Indigenous-led, have elders and knowledge keepers and impacted family members and survivors of gender-based violence. It needs to be collaborative, working in partnership with Indigenous governance organizations and essential partners who are not those folks. They're the ones like policing services. They're the systems that we need to also partner with to ensure that we're getting this information out to people in the best way and utilize their knowledge. There's lots of allies out there who want to just know what they need to do. They want to know how they could help. Because in our course of our work and meeting with the service providers, we have seen the impact on them as service providers. Like everyone has a heart. So we want to be able to, you know, pull that heart and be able to, what's that word, pull the heartstrings? Is that the word? That's saying? Because they do, and you know, they're in systems that, you know, don't maybe allow them to do as much as they would like to do. So I just want to acknowledge that part of it. So culturally safe, respectful Indigenous worldviews, protocols, and languages, and cultural practices, trauma-informed response to the needs of the family that are in crisis, effective to be able to be issued in a way that's, you know, that's accurate, that portrays the individual in an accurate way, to be able to give that information to government, police, media, and community partners as fast as we can, and being accountable and transparent. So we have a response model. So the model has 6 components. And so receiving and recording the reports, the Red Dress Alert will be entrusted to receive and record missing and murdered missing persons reports directly from families and friends. So we're hoping that it'll be a 24-hour service, that people can call in, it'll be a first point of contact, and that they'll be able to receive the supports that they need when they need them. So having a call center possibly. Like this isn't just one thing, it isn't just one alert being issued and going out, it's a whole system. It's a whole system from when they phone to when they're working with those other agencies or law enforcement. It's when they're, you know, getting the information out, it's when they're doing ground searches, it's when they're doing all those kinds of things that they need to do to find their loved one until the end. And we're hoping that at the end they would have been able to find them with the amount of information that could be shared. So it will have an assessment whether or not the alert will be issued, and then taking into account like potential risks of that person and their situation. Information sharing, like I said, sharing it as far as we can We know that communities in Manitoba don't all have phone service. There's parts of Manitoba highways that don't have phone service. So we know that, well, I guess the old radio is the one that we're gonna have to use because it's still, you know, something that reaches those communities and still reaches the people that we need to hear the red dress alert system. So maintaining accurate information, definitely the most important part of the work is supporting the impacted family members and the communities to provide like wraparound services and supports in the search efforts. So collaboratively working with partners within communities and building capacity in the communities to do ground searches or to be able to, you know, support the family in the best way possible. So issuing the alert so that it means that it's we want to make sure that it's the most effective way possible, acknowledging again the technology what's that word? Disparity of technology within Manitoba and the opportunity for it. We have one community, when the phones go down, they're down for weeks. They don't have a detachment anywhere near them. They're like 4 hours away. They actually police their own community with the volunteers in their community. They are the ones that, but even if they do that work, they have a curfew. The men in their community have volunteered and been trained to walk around and make sure there's safety in their community. So we have heard that our own reality is not the reality of everyone in Manitoba. We know that. So we needed to hear those messages from the communities. And I have to say, like, in our visits to those communities, there's lots of men there. Like I could see, you know, male men here, male presenting people here. But there's also in that community an overmounting amount of men who came, who were concerned about, they had impacted families there, but they were concerned about the safety of their community. And they had taken on the responsibility for themselves to be able to help their own community and their relatives and their families. So I always think of South Indian Lake, and that's the community that I'm talking about. And that's a community that's very isolated, that has limited services, has limited internet access, has very challenging responses to crises in their community. So the ongoing monitoring and evaluation and reporting of the red dress alert system itself, always wanting to make sure that it's evaluated so that it would be flexible enough to address the real needs of the community and the people in the communities. So the governance would include bundle carries advisory council, and then of course the essential partners would be an advisory too. So I'm just thinking. So I think that one of the big messages with this is that people would be trauma informed. They would possibly have some experiences. They would be able to support the family in the best way possible. So that's what we think about when we think of the operations, the training of the staff, training of communities, you know, gathering and sharing information, and being able to support something that could run for 24 hours, 7 days a week. But you know, the work would be ongoing in the communities, wanting to make sure that people knew and could do ground searches if they needed to. Like we've heard of, you know, people who have gone missing, a young kid who's gone missing, and their classmates go out to find them. Like that to me is it's a little kind of concerning because they're children and, you know, they want to find their friends, but what if they did? What if they did find them? You know, community has a burden in the communities to be able to do the things that other people in Winnipeg don't have to do. Like we can go out and be active in doing those things, but they don't have the resources that we do. And so we recognize that part too. So we have some timelines that we're working with. right now. Oh, go back. Next one. So we have 4 phases.